quickly and leave. Yes, there are different kind of waist sittings even in the class. If at all it's a round class and with next higher tables or step level chairs, that may invite attention of the students. The way it has been arranged, the architecture matters a lot in during the process of interaction. And if you talk about the personal space at work, it's your office, your desk, a table in the cafeteria that you sit at regularly. And this is what we mean by proxemics, because if you see the small round in between, that is where you are. That would be surrounded by those people who are very much intimate with you or whom you accept to be very much personal with your life. The next round or the lighter round you would find is those who are just friends but not very near ones. Again, the next rounds you will find it is just a kind of social distance. You are not close, you are not just personal, but yes, it's a social distance which you maintain. And the last one which you find is public distance. Other than that, there may be barriers, behaviors during the territory event, which the person who is very much intimate may arise in such a situation that they might come under to the level of public distance. All this categorized are those people who are around you, means you claim some people to be very near to you, you claim some people who is very intimate, rather than you may list some people who are just personal friends but not that personal, then social friends, public friends. Even in your list you categorize my home, next my family or rather relatives home, then my friends home, and then you would have some nearby people who are at a distance, but yes, you live in that society and that is why it is a public thing, and then again quite far you don't even know who people are and where do they live. Coming to chronemics, that is time. How do we manage and react to others' management of time? We are late, it's fine, but now other people are late, it cannot be tolerated. But again, it would be measured on the aspects of duration and activity. Duration and activity means if a person is at his office, or if at all, let's say, take an example of studies. A person who studies from morning 10 to 6 in the evening, but at the same time his activity duration is huge. 10 to 6 is a huge, long duration, but at the same time the activity whichever was given is not up to the mark of that duration. And the activities which is done by that student is of hardly 2 hours, and the rest of the hours he was trying to drag those particular topics. And at the same time, a student who takes 10 to 12 timing, 10 in the morning to 12 in the afternoon, and in that between he covers, let's say, one whole chapter. That is what we count about time, the duration along with the activity. No matter how long you sat or how short time period you were sitting to study a chapter, but the activities you did and the kind of concentration and ability to study matters. Our use of time reflects our power and status, cultural norms, expectation, and interpersonal priorities. Power in the sense, if your boss is late, it's fine, but you're late, it's never fine. Cultural norms, our timing is different from those timings of the Western people. Expectation, yes, you were expected to be early at your place. As a student, you would be expected to be early than your teachers. And interpersonal priorities, yes, because if at all you are having some other priorities, you would take, your priorities would be set, and according to that, you will calculate your time. Gesture.com is a dictionary for body language, and attitude towards time vary from culture to culture, as I said earlier. Should we ask people to all culture background to react to time the same in the workplace? It's not possible at all, because people belonging to different culture may not be able enough to comprise in the same office, and that too with a proper rigid timing. Because let's say, for an example, in place where Muslim communities do live in a huge community, huge mosque, what would happen is every Friday they need time to pray. So they would be given that slot because their culture or their beliefs would be valued in our place. At the same time, for example, let's say for any Indian, if or rather a Hindu, if at all they want to go for a temple because of some festival, that would be granted in the office, and that is why we have so many of leaves started in the timetable. What does this symbol mean to you? It can be 1, It can be a kind of symbol that you failed, like you gave a thumbs up, yeah, I did it, good going, or rather you give this is point 1, or rather you would again say, just you missed it, I got it. When you shake it, you missed it, I got it. That expression can also be seen with this same symbol. But apart from that, in United States it is a symbol of good job. As I said, good, you did a good job. In Germany it is number 1. In Japan it is number 5. In Ghana it's an insult. So whenever you happen to meet you happen to go to this place, Ghana, you should not show your thumb because it's an insult. And in Malaysia the thumb is used to point rather than a finger. If you are, for example, if you want a lift, you would show this. Functions of nonverbals. First, repeating. When you repeat, when you are waiting for a taxi, you definitely repeat it. Substituting emblems. Contemplating, accenting, that is illustrators running fingers through your hair, snapping fingers. You would explain with your expressions. And yes, regulating as well. When you are sitting in front of a person, what nonverbals do you use to indicate that a meeting is coming to an end? You would give a smile. And at the same time, if at all it was a happy smile, and if at all the interview or the meeting was regarded to a kind of conference related type and regarding to some work target which has been achieved, there would be definitely a party tone. Contradicting. Leakage, deceiving behavior is more likely to play with personal effects. The person you can look into the picture is not that happy, he is trying to contradict. Now coming to silence. Silence can communicate contentment. The person is happy with whatever he got and that is why he is silent. One reason. Awkwardness. He cannot say or he cannot react to those kind of situations, but then yes, he is not happy. Awkwardness. Anger. So angry that he cannot speak at all. With due respect, if your parents or rather if your father says something and which is beyond your thoughts or rather it is not according to what you believe, still you would be silent. Why? Because of respect. Thoughtfulness. You are thinking somewhere, you are not in the present scenario, rather you are not into this reality world, rather you are in the imaginative world. You would be thoughtful, and at that point of time also if somebody is asking you something, you would say nothing and you would be silent. Empathy. I guess everybody knows what's the difference between sympathy and empathy. Sympathy is what you feel for another person, oh poor boy, and empathy is where you relate to those kind of situations and you feel, for example, a person who failed an exam would feel, and because he genuinely worked hard but because of some reasons, maybe because of his handwriting was not that good and it was a very crucial exam which he wanted to pass, in that point of time if he is expected good but he fails, would have an empathy with his friend who had the same kind of situation, maybe the next time or at the same time even he would be able enough to empathize it, that feeling of like something which he wanted and that feeling of not getting those aspects is empathy. And it can also be disconforming. You're not conforming but yes, you're disconforming. Silence can be comforting because imagine a situation where you come from lots of noise and sound which you didn't like and suddenly you get into your room which is completely silent. That is very much comforting. When inmates are so close, they do not need to talk. If you and your friend are so close, even at some situations where you want to say yes and another person wants to say no, with your silence the person would be able enough to understand that yes, you like it, and thereby even he doesn't want, he would say yes because they don't need to talk much. And when there is an absence of disturbing noise, there is no noise, it becomes silence. Silence can be discoming symbol. How? When you talk to somebody and they do not reply, you keep on talking and there is no proper reply to your speech, means it is disconforming, you're not getting the proper response. And when children are disciplined by being ignorant, this is a common aspect, and again in teaching this is a normal scenario. Normally people do say, students rather do say that when they were in school they used to ask lots of questions, but because the teachers didn't encourage them to ask so much of questions, they started keeping quiet. They are disciplined in the way to keep quiet even if they don't know or they know. That is a kind of wrong fate, but then again that comes under this category, that when children are disciplined by being ignorant. Physical appearance. Beauty, yes, definitely lies in the eye of the beholder, but we tend to notice obvious things first. That is, first the gender, then the race, then note attractiveness, definitely. Physical appearance or physical attractive people generally are perceived better. Importance placed on physical appearance can be very damaging at times, because maybe a beauty with a brain, and at the same time there can be a beauty without a brain, and it's what we do with it that's most important. Whatever kind of things we try to do with your appearance is a matter of fact. For example, if a person is of a great height, he would be always look forward to take something on from the upper shelf. This is just a small example, but then yes, it depends on what kind of activities are being done with your appearance. You are trying to overuse your appearance, or you are trying to give maximum with your appearance. For example, if at all you may have observed, normally those beauty pageant winners, whoever, maybe a title of Miss World or Miss India or Miss Universe, they would always try to project their beauty to endorse some good things. Even many actors do endorse good habits, or rather some anti-corruption messages would be given by actors. Why? Because they are good looking, no doubt, and at the same time they are having an impression of themselves in our mind. If they say, we believe, we tend to believe rather. For example, if you see an example of just an example of Sachin in or rather Sachin in any toothpaste. We understand Sachin is a cricketer. He has nothing to do with a toothpaste brand. But it does happen that when you see Sachin with a toothpaste ad and that toothpaste is there in front of you in a shop, you tend to buy that, because we relate his quality, his kind of honest truthfulness and devotion towards that his game in that product. Even we relate all the qualities of Sachin in that toothpaste too. That is human tendency, and that is the power of appearance. Non-verbal signals vary from culture to culture. This you can definitely understand that this is the Chinese symbol to say hi or thank you, and at the same time we would say namaste, no doubt, and that what you would do is definitely you won't just bow your head, but at the same time you will just close your tight fold your hands, and you will say prayers just like that, and you would say namaste like that to introduce a person or welcome a person at home. They are different cultural art symbols to express your respect or your things. Non-verbal signals expressing feelings of public display, that is, public display of affection is again a non-verbal signal, because if you see in US or in other Western countries, it's very common to just be together. The feeling of togetherness, the feeling of touch in public is very much common. But at the same time, if that it happens in typical Indian villages, it's not observed, or it's not respected or said good normally. Because if you see a happy couple working together holding their hands in other countries, it's quite common, but you cannot find this kind of scenario at villages. So it depends on the place and culture, and again it is one effect of public display of affection may be different in some culture, and it may be totally avoided in other cultures. Artifacts means personal objects we use to announce our identities and heritage and to personalize our environment. Artifacts include clothing, jewelry, personal belongings, accessories, etc. Because the person, if at all she is having lots of, during a marriage she is having lots of jewelries, definitely she would be claimed as a South Indian bride. And if at all she is having a white gown, definitely she is a Christian gown. It all depends on the kind of bride is being all ready for. Communicate economic level, educational level, trustworthiness, social positioning, level of sophistication, economic background, social background, educational background, level of success, moral character, masculinity or femininity, important parts of first expression. It is very much important that you take care of your artifacts, because that gives the first expression. Your first impression is a lasting impression is being said. So all this together, clubbed together, I mean, these are all the aspects that when you are being looked at, everybody would judge you with those kind of artifacts. Gender and non-verbal differences. Feminine style, if you see, it is of display, normally female display emotions quite quickly, direct body orientation. Euro-Americans smile more, Africans Americans do not. Interpret others' mood and needs. Masculine is short emotions, congruent body oriented, impassive facial expressions. You know the difference between a female and a male expression. And there are some guides to improve your communication. To improve your communication, what we can do is just we need to monitor our own nonverbal communication and exercise care in interpreting that of others. Be tentative when interpreting in others' nonverbal communication, because what you see may not be exactly what you can interpret. So be careful about analyzing a person. And nonverbal are all personal and ambiguous. Yes, because nonverbal is your expressions, but not necessarily that another person is able enough to understand what your expression is meaning of. And to talk about your personal qualification, take responsibility for your interpretations. Whatever you have interpreted, I never do it. No, you should accept whatever your interpretations were, and most probably try to use the I language to check your perceptions of nonverbals. And to talk about the contextual qualifications, we should be aware of how the context might be influencing others' nonverbals. Be aware of how different culture norms might influence others' nonverbals, and be careful not to jump into conclusions based on your own cultural norms. You believe in certain culture and that is the way you react. That doesn't mean that another person also should have a knowledge about those things and he should also react in the same way. Now we'll just see a video which would help us to understand a kind of the difference between a nonverbal and at the same time expressive speech.
When I was a boy, I heard the story. Louder. I heard the story of the Holy Grail, and how it could only be found by one who was pure of heart. Indeed, we have a history of purity in this country, but we have fallen on hard times. Our military is in tatters, our economy collapsing. But it's not poverty or weakness that's our problem. It's indifference.